What's up guys, this is Chris here, and today we're going to be doing a fairly big video for you. Today I wanted to do a comparison video with the most popular pistol on the market, Glock 43X versus the world. We're going to be comparing it to the P365, the M&P Shield, the FN Reflex, the 26, and so on. So if you guys are into that, if you're looking for a pistol to buy, maybe your first pistol, maybe a better pistol than the one you have, this is a pretty good place to start. Before we do that, I want to thank my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys we have lots of guns and ammo and cool stuff on the channel, and if you want to support us, best way to do it, link in the description of this video and every video. Also in the description is a link to a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. Those kids could really use your help, so please go down there and donate to those kids. And then finally, I do want to mention my Twitter, @HonestOutlaw_. If you want to look for cool deals and all kinds of other stuff, that's a good place to go. Also, we put some exclusive content on there. I'm trying to grow that, so I'd really appreciate it if you go over there. It doesn't cost you anything. Just go over there, @HonestOutlaw_ on X, I guess, whatever it's called. Now, what makes the Glock 43X so freaking popular? Well, first off, it's one of the smallest guns Glock makes, next to the 42 here. Now, the 42 came out like 5 or 6 years ago, and it's a good gun, but it was a disappointment because most people want a 9mm for concealed carry, because, let's be honest, it's better. 9mm is the smallest capable cartridge in my opinion. 380 is good, but 9mm penetrates better, it expands better, and there's a lot more available options for not only target ammo, but for self-defense ammo. So 9 is usually where most people go. That's why it's the most popular cartridge in the world. So if you want a 9mm, the Glock 43X is the smallest that they make. Instead of a lot of guns which we're about to show you, it's not a stack and a half micro 9 like P365. So it does have a longer grip than most of the micro 9mm we're going to show you, even longer than most of the subcompacts we're going to show you. Now, long grip matters when it comes to concealability, but it also matters in a lot of other categories that people don't talk about. So first, concealability. Yes, a longer grip makes guns slightly less concealable because you see this little point of the gun sticking out of your shirt if you're carrying appendix sometimes. First off, nobody's looking at you, you're not that hot. Second off, a longer grip actually helps you draw the gun better. And third, it doesn't have a lot to do with it being comfortable to you, the person carrying it, because that dimension that matters is usually width. The fatter the gun, the more uncomfortable the gun can be in your waistband. Grip does matter a little bit, but it's not that big, as we'll show here in a little bit. So first off, it's popular because it is a Glock, which is a reputable brand that people know. Second off, it's the smallest 9mm. The third reason they're popular is because they're extremely reliable and simple to use. That is one of the reasons why Glock has been so successful over the years. They don't change much, so people know what they're getting when they get into it. They know if they buy it, it's going to work the same as their 26, their 19, and so on. Now, unlike those guns, it doesn't take the same magazines because it does take a single stack, which again, we'll do comparisons in a second, but for the most part, it is the same gun, but slimmer and lighter. You still get 10 rounds, you have a good grip to hold on to, it has a decent trigger, it's stupid reliable, and stupid easy to use, and they're relatively affordable. And again, you get that big brand name, that Walmart style brand name in Glock. Now, some of the specs on it, the weight on this is only 16 ounces. It has 10 rounds of 9mm. It has a 3.4-inch barrel and an MSRP of around $450. So the first thing I want to compare it to is a slide. No, I'm kidding. I want to compare it to its slightly bigger brother, the 48. Now the 48 just uses a slightly bigger slide and a slightly longer barrel on the same grip, which is why I just brought the slide, because A, I don't have one assembled, and I'm lazy, so I just brought a slide I found. Now, as you can see here, the 48 is just slightly bigger at about a half an inch longer. She likes it, but it's not much. They're basically the same gun, just with a longer barrel and maybe a slightly more MSRP on the 48. So what do you get out of that? Well, with a longer barrel, you get slightly more velocity, which generally leads to slightly more expansion when it comes to hollow points. You also get a slightly longer sight radius, but if you run a dot, it makes no difference to you whatsoever. Now, you do get some recoil control with a longer slide, depending on how it's sprung, but very, very minimal. Honestly, I think the 48 is just personal preference. If you want a slightly longer gun, go with the 48. If you want a shorter gun like most people, go with the 43X. I go with the 43X because the sight radius doesn't matter to me. You can use different ammunition that matters more when it comes to expansion than a half an inch of barrel, and overall, it's more comfortable for my junk, so I go with the 43X. Next, we have my incredibly done up 19, and again, same ergonomics, same sights, different magazines. Now, the 19 and the 26 take these double stack magazines. So this is a Glock 17 magazine, as you see here. This is a Glock 19 mag, so we go from well, this is actually an extended Glock 17 mag. We go from 17 rounds to 15 rounds. Then this is the 10 round magazine of the Glock 26, and this is the 10 round magazine of the Glock 43X. So as you can see here, 10 rounds done wildly differently. So we're gonna compare the 43 with the 26, but basically it's the same concept, although one is taller and skinnier and one is shorter and fatter. Same amount of rounds, same trigger, same sights. Now, as you can see here, the grip on the 43X is significantly longer than the 26, as we'll show in the filler too. However, the 26 is also wider. And the reason why most people choose the 43X over the 26 is just simply going to be the width of the gun, and it's more comfortable in your waistband because of that. Also, in my opinion, the longer grip is actually easier to draw, and it actually shoots better than the shorter grip anyway. So it's a win-win. As far as reliability, I would consider all the Glocks basically the same. Size comparison with my Safari Precision 19 there. And as you can see that the 43X, the big advantage to it is obviously it's gonna be thinner. The 43X is under an inch wide, and it's got the exact same grip length as a 19. So it's always funny that people will say it's a Micro 9 because it actually has a grip the same length as a compact pistol, which is pretty funny. Almost exactly the same right there, except for, again, the 19 is thicker and longer. Now, with a 19, you're gonna get definitely increased shootability because the gun is heavier. You get a higher capacity, 15 instead of 10, and you get the same length of grip, but it is wider, so more surface area for your left hand equals more recoil control. If you're recoil sensitive, let's say, definitely don't get into a small gun like this, get into a bigger gun like a 19 or a 17. Now let's look at the Sig P365 versus the Glock 43X, and you can see the P365 is significantly smaller. Now the P365 has a weight of 17 ounces, a 10 round capacity, a 3-inch barrel, and an MSRP of around $550. So it is gonna be slightly more expensive, around the same weight, maybe a little bit less in some models, but basically the difference here is this is a true Micro 9, whereas this is a single stack subcompact, I would basically call it. Now I know it's in the Micro 9 category, but it is a single stack, it's not a stack and a half. Whereas with the Sig magazines, 10 round mag, 10 round mag, you can see a significant difference again. Now the Sig has the same length as the 26, but without the width. So instead of being short and fat, it's just short. You can see there, that's the difference in grip and magazine length of the Glock 43X versus the Sig P365, and that is pretty significant considering that they're the same width and they have the same capacity. They just do it a different way. Now Sig is the new kid on the block, obviously, with the stack and a half, and I would say the 43X is a better shooting pistol. It's easier to draw, it's easier to shoot because it's easier to hold on to. It has less recoil, it has probably a better track record. However, it comes with worse ergonomics out of the box. The trigger is going to be worse than the P365. That's where it's going to beat it. The P365 is going to have better sights, and it's going to have better slide serrations, and overall it's going to be a lot smaller and easier to carry. Now let's move into my carry gun. This is the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus. Now as you can see here, now we're starting to get into a similar size here. Now this is also going to be 10+1, and it's also going to be a 3-inch barrel, and they're going to be very similar weight as well. The Glock is going to have a slightly longer barrel, and the Smith is going to have a better trigger and better sights and better texture. They're both equally reliable, and I would say that both of them are equally shootable. However, I think maybe the Shield Plus is just a little bit smaller and a little bit easier to carry, and you're going to honestly find them probably about the same, if not a little cheaper in price. The MSRP, I think, is a little more on the Shield, but I find them for generally a little bit less. And I can't stress enough, not only is the trigger pull, but the trigger reset is better on the Shield. I'll take that. Then the Glock, so it allows me to be faster and more accurate. You can see the size comparison here, very similar, if not almost the exact same, from the top, from the side, from the front. And then the grip on the Glock is going to be longer because the Smith, again, uses that stack and a half mag, and the Glock does not. So not as much difference with Shield as the Sig, because it's a little bit bigger, but still definitely smaller than the Glock 43X, and obviously also a little bit thinner as well, which is added comfortability when you carry the thing. These are the magazine capacities right here, both 10 rounds. One is the Glock, the single stack, and the other is the stack and a half Smith & Wesson. You can see just a little bit shorter. Now another new kid on the block, the Canik MC9. This is one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest, pistols on the table. You can find these for under 400 bucks. 3-inch barrel, 21-ounce overall weight, and a 10-round or 15-round magazine. Now this is going to be more in line with the subcompact as far as size goes. We'll show you here in a minute, but it's still very thin, about an inch thick, so it's still the same size as the Glock 43X. You're going to have a pre-cock striker trigger on here. You're going to come with better sights in the Glock, and it's going to come with better ergonomics as well, in my personal opinion. This one also comes optics ready, and like I said, it's one of the more popular pistols of the year, just simply because of the price point, coming in at a couple $100 less than the 43X. So let's take a look at it here. Obviously a longer barrel. Obviously, this is 12 and 15 round capacity, whereas this is only 10. And even still, let me pop the magazine out so it's a comparable size. The Canik is going to be the same width, but shorter, even though it has 2 rounds more than the 43X. Now, I can't stress enough, the Canik has one of the best triggers on the market, and certainly a better trigger than the Glock. So if you're a new shooter, you are going to really appreciate, any shooter really, is going to really appreciate the lighter trigger on this. However, you have to be careful that you don't have any negligent discharges. So the Canik is going to be a little less reliable, in my personal opinion, than the Glock. Not to say that they have reliability problems at all, but just compared to the most reliable pistol on the fucking planet, it's not quite as reliable. Now, does that matter to civilians? Not in my personal experience, although I have had a couple of people tell me they've had issues with these, but cheap guns are cheap guns. I would still absolutely recommend them. We have a 1,000-round review of this, and it did extremely well. As far as the size and weight category, it's a little bit shorter on the barrel and the grip. As far as shootability, I would say more accurate, but probably a little more recoil than the 43X. The 43X has great recoil control, in my opinion, because of the longer grip. You can lock that pinky in, lock that wrist out, and you can really get shots on target quickly. This is going to be a little more comfortable to carry, and it carries more rounds for a cheaper price, so keep that in mind. Now we'll go over to the FN Reflex, another super new kit on the block, obviously more expensive than the Glock, MSRP of around $599, barrel length of 3.3 inches, weight of 18 ounces, and a capacity of 10, 11, or 15, depending on which magazine that you choose. So let's take a look at it compared to the 43X as well. And you're gonna see that the slide is almost the exact same size, if not the exact same. The weight is almost the exact same. It's gonna be a little bit more expensive, and it's gonna have a little bit better capacity for a little shorter grip. Now that's gonna be similar with all these Micro 9s I compare to the 43X, because the 43X is, again, a single stack. It doesn't take advantage of that stack and a half magazine, so all these guns are gonna be a little bit shorter and a little bit easier to conceal. So it's up to you which one you want to choose. Now, from my personal experience, FNs are not as reliable as Smiths or Berettas or Glocks, just especially recently. However, we've had pretty good luck with this one. This one comes with good sights, good serrations, pretty decent trigger, optics mounting system, good texture, comes with 3 mags, and like I said, comes with a cool FDE color. I would consider this a very viable self-defense weapon, although I would personally choose the Sig or the Smith over this, and I would definitely choose the Glock over this just because of my track record. I've shot thousands of rounds for these. I know they freaking work, and that's a big deal to me. And if you guys go out there and you buy Glock just because of the name and just because you know it works, just because you like it, that's okay, by the way. Just because some of these have a little better weights or a little better MSRPs or whatever, it doesn't mean they're a better gun for you. If you shoot it better and you're happy with it, keep it. So size comparison here one more time, back, side, overall, they're pretty similar guns. Now, last one I want to do is going to be a subcompact, and that's going to be the P10S, and that's because the P10M is garbage. So this one is another super cheap gun, $375 to $400, 3.5-inch barrel, 24-ounce overall weight, and then a 12+1 capacity. So this is going to be heavier, bigger, and cheaper. Now, heavier and bigger is not always bad. I'm heavier and bigger, and I appreciate that. The CZ P10 has a lot of advantages. First off, it's going to be the most shootable gun. Heavier, bigger guns are the most shootable. The more weight they are, the more recoil they can generally soak up. On top of that, the P10 series can accept the larger magazines. Very cool, just like the 26. And very, very light slide mass. So you good sights, good trigger, very fast follow-up shots on the trigger reset, low recoil, good texture, all for the sub $400 mark. But you are going to be carrying a little bit bigger gun than the 43X. So it's going to be thicker, just like the 26 and just like the VP9 SK. The subcompacts are all going to be a thicker profile of gun because they accept the larger magazines from the larger guns. P10S compared to the Glock 43X, as you can actually see, the Glock 43X is actually almost as long, if not a little bit longer. I didn't expect that. I've never compared these before until I put them on camera, so we're learning today. But the 43X is a long bitch apparently, because it is longer than even the P10S. So it's really up to you what you want. and what you want to carry. All these are perfectly carryable. You can carry a full-size 1911 if you have the right holster and you have the right build and the right pair of pants and belt in the whole system. But if you want to get a smaller gun that's easier to conceal, remember that that comes with the caveat of being harder to shoot fast, harder to shoot accurately with more recoil. A bigger gun is going to be more uncomfortable throughout the day, but it's going to have more capacity, less recoil, and you're going to probably be able to hit better with it. It depends on what size of hand you have, what size of person you are, and what your mindset is going into concealed carry, what gun is the best for you. If you like style and you want a bigger gun, you want to carry a Beretta 80X Cheetah, well, go right ahead. Just know in advance that it is a big ass gun by comparison to even the 43X. It's got a longer grip, it's heavier, it has similar or less capacity, it has a smaller caliber, and it's gonna be more expensive. There's always gonna be pros and cons. If you want style, go with that. If you want no frills, maybe go with the Glock. If you want the new kid on the block, check out the FN. All of them are gonna work as long as you train with them and you shoot them well. So buy some ammo, buy a holster, buy a good belt, go get a membership at a gun club and have some fun, practice with your carry gun, do some cool drills, and you'll be better prepared to protect your family if the need ever arises. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your Oklahoma shelters and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.